The world returns not with a gentle sunrise, but with a shudder. A deep, resonant thud from miles away shakes the damp earth beneath me. It is a familiar alarm clock in this upside-down world. My eyes peel open to a sliver of bruised purple sky above the trench wall. The air is thick, carrying the foul trinity of wet soil, stale smoke, and decay. My name is Private Arthur Hastings. I'm just one of thousands huddled in this jagged scar across the French countryside. I push myself up, my boots making a sickening squelch as they sink into the mud. Looking up, I see barbed wire silhouetted against the pale morning light. The distant rhythmic booming of the artillery is the baseline of our lives. Another day of waiting, watching, and hoping. The dawn simply signals that the gears are beginning to turn once more. The order comes down the line, a series of hushed whispers and nudges. Stand to, lads. Dawn is the most critical moment. We must be ready. I grab my rifle, cold and steady in my hands, my constant companion. We clamber onto the fire step, peering over sandbags into no man's land. My heart beats faster. This is when we are most exposed. We stare into the mist, searching for any sign of movement. The silence is heavy, broken only by distant guns and a soft cough. All our energy is focused on seeing, listening, being ready. As the sun rises, the mist burns away. The danger passes. Stand down. We step off the fire step, relief washing over us. We have survived another sunrise. The ritual is complete. The shadows recede. Breakfast is not an event to be savored, it is a task to be completed. The rations are distributed by the platoon sergeant, a man whose face seems permanently etched with weariness. He moves down the line, handing each of us our share. Today, it is a chunk of hardtack biscuit and a slice of bully beef. The biscuit is notoriously tough, a challenge for even the strongest teeth. We call them toothbreakers for a reason. Most of us have learned to soak them in our tea, if we are lucky enough to have any, until they soften into a pulpy, tasteless mush. It is not appetizing, but it is sustenance. The bully beef comes in a tin, a congealed mass of salted meat that smells faintly metallic. We pry it open with our bayonets and share it out. Eating is a messy affair. We sit on ammunition boxes or crouch in the mud, balancing our meager meal on our laps. There are no tables, no clean surfaces. The ever-present mud seems to find its way into everything. A stray crumb falls and is instantly swallowed by the mire. We eat quickly, with a kind of grim determination, our eyes constantly scanning our surroundings. There is no real pleasure in it, only the dull satisfaction of filling an empty stomach. The greatest luxury of the morning is tea. A small fire, carefully shielded from enemy view in a dugout, is used to boil water in a blackened kettle. The water itself is often questionable, tasting of the petrol cans it was carried in. But once it is hot and sweetened with a ration of sugar, it becomes the most wonderful drink imaginable. We cradle the warm mugs in our hands, letting the heat seep into our frozen fingers. For a few precious moments as we sip the sweet, smoky liquid, a flicker of comfort cuts through the misery. It is a small thing, but out here, small things mean everything. While we eat, the rats watch us. They are the true kings of the trenches, fat and bold from feasting on discarded rations and grimly on the unburied dead. They scurry along the trench walls and duckboards, their beady eyes gleaming in the dim light. They are a constant, unwelcome presence, a reminder of the filth and decay that surrounds us. We kick at them and curse them, but they always return. They are as much a part of this landscape as the mud and the wire. Finishing our meal, we scrape our tins clean, knowing it will be many hours until the next. A soldier's work is never done, especially not in the trenches. The war is not just about fighting, it is a constant, grueling battle against the elements and decay. The trenches are fragile structures, always threatening to collapse. The rain, the shelling, and the simple passage of time conspire to erode our sanctuary. So after breakfast, the daily chores begin. My section is assigned to trench maintenance. This means filling sandbags with heavy, wet clay, a back-breaking task that leaves your muscles screaming and your hands raw. We form a human chain, digging the mud, filling the bags, and passing them up to the men reinforcing the parapet. The mud is our eternal enemy. It is a relentless, sucking force that consumes everything. Duckboards, the wooden planks that are supposed to provide a path through the worst of it, sink and splinter under the constant traffic. Part of our duty is to haul them out of the muck, clean them as best we can and lay them down again. We wade through sections of the trench where the water is knee-deep, a freezing, foul-smelling soup that soaks through our puttees and trousers. The cold water numbs our feet, leading to the dreaded trench foot, a condition that can turn a man's feet black and lead to amputation. When not repairing the walls or laying duckboards, we might be sent on carrying parties. This involves trekking back to the support lines to bring up supplies, heavy boxes of ammunition, coils of barbed wire, rations and water. It is exhausting and dangerous work. The communication trenches that link the front line to the rear are often targeted by enemy snipers and artillery. We move in a crouch, our bodies bent low, the weight of the supplies digging into our shoulders. The journey is a perilous slog through yet more mud, with the constant threat of a shell landing nearby or a rifle crack echoing from the German lines. Another common duty is sentry duty. In 2-hour shifts, we stand watch at various points along the trench, peering through a periscope or a small shielded loophole in the parapet. This is a job that requires immense patience and concentration. For hours, nothing might happen. The boredom can be as draining as physical labor. Your mind starts to wander, thinking of home, of a warm bed, of a decent meal. But you have to force yourself to stay alert, to watch for any sign of enemy activity. A moment of inattention could cost you your life and the lives of your comrades. It is a heavy responsibility to bear. In the mid-afternoon, a runner arrives with the mailbag. This is the most anticipated moment of the day. The arrival of letters is like a sunbeam breaking through a storm. We gather as the sergeant calls out names, hope rising in every chest. Hearing your name feels like winning a lottery. A letter is a lifeline to the world we left behind. Today I am lucky. There's a letter for me from my wife Mary. Her handwriting is a beautiful, familiar sight. As I read, the trench fades away. She writes of simple things, the weather, the garden, a neighbor's cat. She tells me she is praying for me. These small details are more precious than gold. For a few minutes I'm not in France, but home. The letter is a shield against the horrors of this place. It gives me the strength to carry on. Not everyone is so fortunate. Some wait for news that never comes, and the loneliness grows. The afternoon quiet is shattered by a sudden rising whistle, then a terrifying shriek. Incoming! The cry echoes as we throw ourselves flat in the mud, hearts pounding. The ground heaves, dirt and shrapnel rain down, and the air is filled with the scream of shells. There's no time for bravery, only a desperate will to survive. The barrage pounds us, relentless and deafening, until suddenly it stops. The silence is almost as unnerving as the noise. Shaking, we rise, alive but forever changed by the whistling death that passed over us. In this terrible place, your comrades are your family. We live, eat and sleep in such close quarters that privacy is a forgotten luxury. We know each other's life stories, the names of our sweethearts, the fears we whisper in the dark. We are bound together by a shared experience that no one back home could ever possibly understand. This bond, this brotherhood of the mud, is what keeps us sane. It is the one pillar of support in a world that has been turned completely upside down. We rely on each other for everything, from a spare match to light a cigarette to the courage to face another day. Humor is our best defense against the madness. It is a dark gallows humor, but it helps. We joke about the terrible food, the size of the rats, and the absurdity of our situation. Tom, the lad from Manchester, is particularly good at it. He can do a perfect imitation of the company sergeant major, which never fails to raise a weary smile. After the shelling, he might remark, "Well, Fritz has rearranged the furniture again." I quite liked the parapet where it was. Laughter, even for a moment, is a powerful act of defiance. It is our way of telling the war that it has not completely broken us yet. We share everything we have. If a man receives a parcel from home filled with cake or chocolate, it is immediately divided among his closest mates. A single cigarette is often passed between 3 or 4 men. This generosity is not questioned, it is simply expected. We are all in the same predicament, and what little comfort one man has is a comfort for all. This sense of community is our strength. When a man's spirit is low, his friends are there to pull him up. When he is afraid, they stand with him, their quiet presence a source of immense strength. This bond is at its most powerful in the aftermath of an attack or a bombardment. We tend to the wounded with a gentleness that belies our rough exteriors. We comfort the dying, holding their hands and promising to write to their families. We mourn the dead with a deep, silent grief. Each loss is a personal blow, a tear in the fabric of our small family. We know that any one of us could be next. This shared vulnerability forges a connection that is stronger than steel. We are brothers, forged in the fires of this war, and we will stand together until the very end. As evening approaches, the day's main work is done. If we are lucky, the ration party returns with something for a hot meal. Tonight it is macaroni stew, a tinned concoction of sliced turnips, carrots and potatoes in a thin, watery broth. We heat it over a small, smokeless stove called a Tommy cooker. It is a bland and uninspiring meal, but it is hot. A hot meal is a luxury that cannot be overstated. It warms you from the inside out, fighting back the perpetual damp and cold that live in your bones. We eat it slowly, treasuring each spoonful of warmth. After the meal, those not on immediate sentry duty have a brief period of respite. This is the time for small personal rituals that help us hold on to our humanity. I take out my pipe. The tobacco is a cheap, harsh blend, but the act of packing the bowl, lighting it and drawing the smoke is deeply comforting. It is a moment of peace, a small island of calm in a sea of chaos. Other men clean their rifles with meticulous care, the repetitive, familiar motions a form of meditation. Some men tears in their uniforms, their fingers clumsy with needle and thread. This is also the time when we talk. The conversation is usually quiet, subdued. We talk about home, about what we will do when the war is finally over. One man dreams of opening a small shop. Another just wants to walk in a green field that isn't pockmarked with shell craters. These conversations are filled with a fragile hope. We speak of the future as if it is a certainty, even though we all know how precarious our existence is. It is a necessary fiction, a story we tell ourselves to keep the darkness at bay. The small comforts are what make this life bearable. A dry pair of socks is a gift from heaven. A bar of chocolate from a parcel is a feast. A shared cigarette, a hot cup of tea, a letter from a loved one. These are the things that fuel our will to survive. They are tiny sparks of light in an overwhelming darkness. They remind us that there is a world beyond the mud and the wire, a world of warmth, comfort, and love. And it is the hope of one day returning to that world that keeps us going through the long, cold nights in the trenches. As darkness swallows the sky, the trench takes on a new and menacing character. The familiar shapes of the day become strange and threatening silhouettes. The night is a time of heightened alert and nervous tension. The stand-to ritual is repeated, our eyes once again straining to pierce the gloom of no man's land. The darkness is alive with sounds, the scuttling of rats, the groan of the wind through the barbed wire, the distant muffled pop of a rifle. Every sound is magnified, every shadow a potential threat. The night belongs to raiding parties and patrols, a time for silent, deadly work. My duties for the night involve a 2-hour shift on sentry duty, followed by a few hours of potential sleep before I'm needed again. Standing on the fire step in the dead of night is a profoundly lonely experience. The cold seems to sink deeper into your bones. The world shrinks to the few yards of trench around you and the impenetrable blackness in front. You are alone with your thoughts, and that can be a dangerous thing. The mind replays the horrors of the day, the scream of the shells, the faces of the fallen. It wanders to thoughts of home, a painful mix of love and longing. When my shift is over, I try to find a place to rest. Sleep is a precious and elusive commodity. There are no beds, only damp, cramped dugouts carved into the side of the trench. I find a small alcove, curl myself into a ball on the muddy floor and pull my greatcoat tight around me. The air is cold and smells of wet earth and unwashed bodies. The distant rumble of the guns is a constant lullaby. Sleep doesn't come easily. It is a fitful, shallow state, punctuated by nightmares and the constant noise of the war. Lying here in the dark, I think of Mary. I picture her face, I remember the sound of her voice. It is this memory that I cling to, my anchor in this sea of madness. I do not think about politics or the grand strategies of the generals. I think only of survival. I think about making it through this night and through the day that will follow. I must endure for her. As my eyes finally grow heavy, my last conscious thought is a simple, desperate prayer to see the grey light of another dawn. In the trenches, that is the only victory that truly matters. If you found this story moving, make sure to like and subscribe for more interesting stories.